Right, so let's get into setting up Reaper and getting it to work as effectively as possible. I'm on a Mac, but this should also work for Windows, and wherever there's a Windows kind of thing, I will try to tell you. Okay, the first thing is you need to install the software from reaper.fm. Once you install the software, it should work fine, and you should see the icon somewhere. Right, so first thing you want to do is open Reaper. When it opens, it will generally default to a new project. You could just let it be. Then it will say evaluation. You can just say still evaluating because you've not paid for it. And this is the full version. There's no free version or anything like that. It's the full version. So the first thing is I want you to do a few settings or a few preferences so that your Reaper works like my Reaper. Okay, it's very customizable. I won't tweak it too much, but just few things which are important. The first thing you'd want to do is go to your preferences. To go to preferences, you do Command comma on Mac or Control P on Windows. So once you go to preferences, let's just do a few preferences things, if shall we? So I'm just going to preferences from the top down. Okay, general, go to open startup settings, open project on startup. I would always prefer a prompt, not whatever it is, new project. So go to prompt, tick all these things, quite useful. Now going to paths. Paths very important. Store all peak caches or repeaks. You want to tick this. Then you want to go to some place in your computer, going to browse, and perhaps the desktop or wherever, some kind of a disposable place, and make a folder. I've made a folder called repeaks. So this is basically all the waveform viewing, all the waveform information. This has nothing to do with your actual audio, so you don't want this stuff to be inside your main project folder. There's no need for that. So you're moving this to an alternate path, repeaks, so you could move it somewhere else. So make a folder called repeaks or peaks or whatever, or waveforms Reaper. Tick this, move everything there, and always hit apply at the end of it all. Then keyboard, for my kind of working or for your kind of working, it could be different. So I have reversed horizontal scroll. That's the way I like working. So you could try out these settings and see what works for you with your mouse and your mouse pad and your scroller and whatnot. This for your settings for keyboard and the mouse wheel. Coming to projects, what I would recommend is this setup for projects. Try to maybe screenshot this setting and keep it from there. And there's an option here, when overwriting project file, name old project to RPP. That's nice. Then you go to something called timestamp backup. Timestamp backup is very important, so tick timestamp backup. I would say every 2 minutes, anytime. Every 2 minutes, anytime, timestamp backup. Save to timestamped file in additional directory. So again, the same deal as earlier. Make another folder in the desktop or wherever you want called timestamps and put it there. So these are all your backups. In the event that your computer just randomly shuts down or everything goes kaput, you have another folder with your project backup. This will not back up your audio files, just the project folder, which is stored as .rpp. So save to timestamped file in additional directory. I would not recommend project directory. You want to keep your project directory clean. Okay, every 2 minutes, anytime is what pretty much works for me. Okay, then track send defaults. If you have a sound card where you have a lot of inputs, maybe you could, anytime you make a new track, you monitor the input here. Your input is mono, or your input could be MIDI if you use MIDI more often, and you could also choose the default input. If you always plug in a mic to input 2 or input 4, it will default to that. So that's a nice setting to have. Media item defaults, yeah, you can just leave it at this. I guess I haven't changed too much here. You can change the fade in, fade out shape if you like. Coming to audio, this is fine. You can go to device. Make sure you choose your sound card or your audio interface. If you don't have one, then if you're a Mac user, you'll have default system devices. You could use this. If you're a Windows user, remember I told you go to ASIO4all.com. ASIO4all.com. Install that driver, and then you're going to see ASIO point up here. Choose that, and then you would be using your inbuilt laptop mic if you don't have a computer mic with you. Sorry, a normal mic connecting to the audio interface. Then coming to MIDI devices, if you have any connected, make sure if to check them, and if you've installed the driver, you need to do that. So install the driver. Then what happens is you'll see the keyboards point in. So as you can see, my Roland A88 keyboard is installed but not present. When I connect it, it'll be up and running. However, I have a Studio Logic which is enabled and controlled. So you need to hit enable input from this device, and you can even enable input for control messages if you want. So this matters, the MIDI hardware settings. This doesn't matter too much. You don't have to really care about MIDI outputs. You care more about MIDI inputs, which is coming into Reaper. Buffering is fine. Mute solo is fine. The settings are there to protect your ear, so just leave it as it is. Playback settings, yeah, I think all this is sorted. All this is cool. And yeah, seeking is fine. Recording again, I think is fine. You can just keep the same setting, no problem. Loop recording, rendering, appearance, pretty much the same. Media, you can leave this as it is. Not changed much. Peaks, waveforms, fades, crossfades, track control panels. Maybe you want to set it like this. I think this is the default itself, so you can just leave it as it is. Editing behavior, I would always say horizontal zoom center, tick edit cursor, not edit or play. I would prefer just the edit cursor. That seems to work a lot better. Right, vertical zoom center is set there. Track at center of view. Envelope display, fine. Automation, fine. Mouse, yeah, I would definitely tick ignore mouse wheel on all faders. You don't want to be scrolling your mouse wheel and then random stuff happens, especially if you're a beginner on the software. So just disable that by ticking ignore mouse wheel on all faders. Okay, that's pretty much it. Mouse wheel targets window under cursor. I think that's set. Mouse modifiers, we can keep changing, so you can leave it for now. MIDI editor, you can leave for now. It's damn good the way it is, but then we'll keep changing it as we go along. Okay, media, leave it as it is. Or when importing multiple media items, I think prompt user is the best. So I think it's, and make sure you tick this. I think by default this is not ticked, so you may want to tick copy imported media to project media directory. Very important. Please tick this if it is not defaulted for you. MIDI is fine. Video is fine. We rarely work on video anyway. Plugins, you have to check it very rarely. So that's sorted. That's your preferences. After all this is done, hit apply. Do not forget to hit apply. Hit OK. Then a few more things you do here in your menus. You go to options, and you want to go here, new recording that overlaps existing items, the fourth lane. You'd want to type trims existing items behind new recording, tape mode. Okay, so tick that, very important. That's the setting. There's also trim content behind media items when editing. You can tick that as well. And auto crossfade, fine, you can leave that on. So that's pretty much it in that front. And What else? Another thing you want to do is just install this thing called SWS extensions. So you can go to Google, type SWS extensions, you'll get the first link, download it for your required OS, it installs on your computer, follow the process, and then after you restart Reaper, you'll have all these extensions. So you can do a lot of cool stuff like auto coloring and whatnot, right? So this is also very important. Then you can go to project settings, set that up also well. Under project settings, you have something called project sample rate. I would keep that to 48,000 hertz. Then I would keep time base for items, envelopes, markers. Always keep it to time. Don't change it to beats unless you're working 100% MIDI. Then you can always change your BPM and time signature. This is customized for the song you're working on, as you know. Media, make sure you type audio here. That means it's going to create a subfolder called as audio, wherein you're going to store all your audio files. Reaper will do that for you. It will make a folder and then inside a subfolder and create the audio. And now audio format for new recordings, WAV 24-bit PCM is highly recommended. You can leave video as it is, advanced and notes as they are. Then set as default project settings, you're good there. And then when you save your project, you want to tick create subdirectory for project. Very important that you tick create subdirectory for project. So these are some of the preferences and all that which you may want to have, right? And yeah, I think I've covered pretty much everything, if I'm not mistaken, right? So now in the next video, I'm just going to get you guys started with your I'll give you an introduction to Reaper, the different parts of Reaper, and then we'll do our first recording.